Now you need to be careful because as you keep remixing or making a project online, they'll be saved automatically. And then you can end up having a lot of projects that you don't want. So I'm going to delete all the things I don't want right now. Delete this, and then delete this. Good. And then now I'm just going to say new project. Right. So I'm going to teach you the concept of moving, right? Moving in Scratch. Now, the first thing you need to understand is there's something we call the X and Y axis. When you go up, so up and down is the Y axis. From left to right is the X axis. Something that can help us is a backdrop. So if I go to choose backdrop, at the end, the last backdrop is called XY grid. Let's choose this one. Yeah. Okay. Right. Now, can you see this? It's like a graph. So you have the Y axis here, and then you have the X axis here. Right now, the cat is at 0, 0. So keep looking at these numbers. Look at the numbers here. And you see my mouse here says X is 97, Y is minus 97. So down is minus, up is plus. Left is minus, right is plus, right? Good. So let's look at this. So right now it says X is 97, Y is 3. You can look at my mouse. As you're moving around, you can see all those things changing, right? So I'm going to click on the sprite. And we're going to look at a couple of move blocks. We've already looked at the move 10 steps. Now, the move 10 steps will move in the direction that the cat is facing, or whatever your sprite is, it will move in that direction. So if I say move 10 steps, if I click on this, it just moves in the direction that the sprite is facing, right? Now, we have something else, and it's called the change. So let's look at this. Change X by a particular number. Now, change X would only change on the horizontal axis. That's from left to right. So if I say change X by 10, it's the same thing as move 10 steps because the cat is currently facing this way. But what if I want to move back? What do you think would happen? I'll have to use a minus. So change X by minus 10. If I click on it, can you see that? The cat is moving back. Now try bigger numbers. So minus 100. Right? Let's do 150. Good. Can you see that? So if we want to move on the X axis, that's from left to right, we just change X. Now if we want to move on the Y axis, we change Y by something. So if I click on this, positive will take me up. Yeah, can you see I'm going up? And then negative, let's say minus 50, will bring me down. Yes? Cool. So that's the change X and the change Y. We also have set X. So maybe at the beginning of your game, you want your character to start at a particular point. You can set your X and also set your Y. Right? So you look at the difference. There's change and there's set. Set will set it to a particular value, while change will keep changing it or increasing it or decreasing it by a particular value. So for example, if I say set X to 0, it will come back to where X is 0. I didn't change Y, so it will still be on the side that Y is. So it will be somewhere here. So if I click on this, can you see that? Now if I also set Y to 0, it comes back to this position, right? Now there's an easier way to, instead of using both set X and set Y, we can just say go to. Go to X and go to Y. So for example, if I want to come somewhere here, look at it. X is 100. Y is 100. That will be this point, the intersecting point. So I'm going to say 100, 100, and then look at what happens. Yeah, that's the same thing as using, so let's set it to 0, 0. So go to X and Y is the same thing as using set X and set Y. So if I set X to 100 and I set Y to 100, if I click on it, it takes me to the same thing. But instead of using 2 blocks, I can just use 1 block with this. Yeah. So it's really important because in most games, you want your character to start at a particular point. Maybe you want it to start here, right? Or you want it to start somewhere. Anywhere you want it to start, you just look at the value. So another cool thing is, as you keep moving the cat, some of those values change. So for example, your go-to changes, your glide changes, and things like that. So it's really cool. Instead of guessing where it is, just put your sprite where you want it to be. So in this case, here, and all you have to say is go to a particular value. So if at the end of the game, the sprite stops here, and then you start your game again. So for example, when clicked, and then I click on this, the cat will always start at this position every time I start the game. So as we go on in the course, we'll be using this go to and change X and change Y, right? Really cool. See you in the next module.